I want to thank our friend John Fell, who has done some research that you're going to be hearing about very shortly. As we discuss on the program, the next segments of our territory talk. We started a couple of weeks ago with the premise of where would the Midnight Express and I have gone in 1985 if we had not gone to world class and had a deal in place to go work for Crockett later on. Where would we have gone? What territory? What company? And I mentioned that we're going to do some of those, and especially over the holidays where we have some opportunity to sit down and talk about it. But John Fell has done some research on the AWA and the WWF, because especially the WWF, I really didn't follow at the time. I've said this. And so, I can talk and expound on Florida and Georgia and Texas and the territories, but John has done some research on some of the teams and opponents and things that were there in 1985 and 86 in the WWF and AWA. And so we're going to use that. And well, I'm sure you do remember because you're a savant, but the teams in 1985 that were fighting for the tag team championship were Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda and Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik. We probably would have had a pretty good match with Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda. But if the style of heel tag team stylings in that company at that time was Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik, and I love Nikolai as a person to death, and he's the greatest human being. But maybe that's why we didn't go or ever even think about going.
Well, they're not really indicative.
You couldn't really have anybody farther. No, they had other teams, but they were pushing Volkov and Sheik on top when they also had the Rougeaus and the Hart Foundation and Beefcake and Valentine.
Not yet, exactly. You got to remember a few things. Jerry Briscoe told me when I asked him that the original plan was for the Briscoe brothers to turn heel, and that would have been the first feud with Windham and Rotunda. So we missed that on that.
I can see that.
And that would have been great because we just came off, going into 85, we came off an amazing series with the Briscoes against Adonis and Murdoch. Then we got Windham and Rotunda, and they had no one to work with because the Hart Foundation hadn't started yet, and they had to work with Volkov and the Sheik, and then that led into the dream team of Valentine and Beefcake. But for the Midnight Express, you would have been able to work with the Killer Bees. Not optimal, but not the worst. You would have been able to work with the British Bulldogs in 85. I mean, there would have been good teams for you to work with.
It would have been interesting. Either the Bulldogs and the Midnight Express would have had the greatest tag team matches in the ring ever yet seen, or Dynamite Kid and Dennis Condrey would have got on sideways with each other and somebody would have got hurt. Just knowing the personalities involved.
Even 86, you wouldn't think of it, but like Midnight Express versus the Islanders before they turned heel, Haku and Tama or the Tonga Kid. That would have been fun. I mean, there would have been enough guys for a good heel team to work with. Your competition would have been the Hart Foundation, not Nikolai and the Sheik.
Well, I'm just saying that, it wasn't as welcoming as the NWA crew. But now that I've thought that about it, how would Dennis Condrey and Dynamite Kid, if Dynamite had liked Dennis, they would have got along and everything would have been rosy. If Dynamite Kid had fucked with Dennis Condrey's shit, we probably would have seen a Rougeau episode a couple of years earlier. Now that I think about it, that could have gone either way.
We have to ask an expert like a David Schultz, someone who knows both parties, who would be able to figure out how they would interact.
Well, I'm just saying it could have been up, and it would depend. It would have hinged on Dynamite. If Dynamite had liked Dennis and they'd have got along, everything would have been fine. If Dynamite Kid had messed with Dennis Condrey's shit would have happened much before it actually did. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing. For everybody wondering, over the holidays, we're going to keep a steady schedule of drive-thrus, new programming. And as we usually do at the end of the year for the experience, we're going to have some on-the-bus episodes of some of the things that the listeners have been asking for. An omnibus of commercial spots, some bloopers, There's something else that I'm forgetting that's being worked on in there. What is it?
Well, we don't want to spoil the surprise.
We don't want to
have
spoil
several
all the
great
surprise.
omnibuses coming, and not just for the podcast listeners, but there will be some that will be available for YouTube subscribers before people get to hear them on podcasts in the future. Lots of fun things in the work.
Yes.
In the works.
Or just the work.
In the work.
That's what we're perpetrating here is the work. But anyway, and we are going to do territory talk. Thanks with John Fell for your research, and over the Christmas and New Year's holidays on the Drive-Thru, there'll be a lot of that discussion going on now that we've got notes and et cetera. And hopefully over the holidays, everybody will stop doing stupid newsworthy things so we can just relax and talk about extrapolate and expound on some philosophical wrestling discussions.